Well, this is the first time I've ever tried to use my mobile phone and GarageBand to record a podcast. Anyway, welcome to Deep Dive Dialogues. I'm your host, Dan Warheide, and today has been a bit different. Actually, the past few days have been a bit different. If you listen to my last episode, I talked about a pending move coming up, and over the weekend we completed that move down to the beach, and none of my equipment is set up yet. My recording day did not happen like it was supposed to. I had some schedule interferences, and of all things, I'm preparing to planning to record this evening, and my mother calls to ask me, of all things, to help her move a piano. She has a friend who is donating their piano to my niece and nephew, and my mother asked me to come down and help. Now, I don't know if you've ever moved a piano before, but it was not something I was looking forward to. However, the piano is now on a trailer, and we are headed back to her house, where my niece and nephew will receive it with gratitude, and hopefully we will get it into the house in one piece. But I digress. So I have none of my notes, I have none of my plans, and I'm gonna wing it. Now, let me talk about that for a second, because I think there's tremendous value in the messy middle, doing it, without all of the fancy tools, gadgets, or without striving for some sort of level of perfection, right? If you're creating something, whatever it may be, whether you're starting a business or you want to create a podcast, there's tremendous value in just showing up and doing the work. Of course, always looking for ways to improve, but when you have to improvise, there's nothing wrong with good improvisation. Today's tools provide us with so much that really you can do what I'm doing right now. You can record a podcast in your car from your mobile phone, which is exactly what I'm doing. I've got about 23 minutes. Hopefully, you'll stick around for all of that, and I'm hoping that I don't have to scrap this episode and do it again when I get home tonight, because at the moment it's about 6:45 at night and I am tired, just worn out from the move this weekend, and while I didn't do all the heavy lifting, I'm still a lot of packing and a lot of unpacking and all the things. So I'm just beat, and I would like to get a shower and lay down, start my nighttime routine, if you will, at a normal time. But I may end up staying up late depending on how this turns out. So there you go. That's the background noise, is my car, and on the interstate at the moment. My original plan, I had drawn an outline for a podcast episode that included a little bit about the processes, the workflows that I have been implementing, and I've shared it with several other coaches who have found it tremendously helpful. So I might try to cover that a little bit for you and see how this goes. I'm a bit dehydrated as well, so just taking a sip of water. I have had, of course, I've had some really great conversations. I've been working a lot lately with other coaches who are new to creating their online business, or really wanting to double down their efforts in client creation, and I have shared my process. Of course, if you've heard me talk about it before, I subscribe to the Prosperous Coach method or approach to creating clients, which is to connect, to invite, to create, and to propose. So on the process side, I want to break this down into just a little bit of an example, if you will, of what could be. Now, why did this come up? Well, aside from having these conversations with other coaches who have been working to implement some of these steps into their own practices, one of the reasons it came up, and probably something else I want to talk about, we'll see how it comes out, is recently I had a conversation with my coach. I had this weird feeling of authentically aligned work. And the question came up, is what I'm pursuing, what I'm doing, the business of coaching, is that my most authentically aligned work? And now this came up because I had heard on a podcast recently that topic and a few minutes about that topic, and it just, well, the question, this topic kind of struck me, and then the feeling of, well, if it was my most authentically aligned work, should I not be further along in the process? Should I not be seeing more of the progress that I would most like to see? Now, I'm not saying that I'm not seeing tremendous results and I'm not seeing progress. I certainly am seeing progress, and I'm seeing tremendous results in my clients and in myself, and the journey that I've been on, especially most recently. I think it was last episode I shared what has transpired since starting 75 Hard, and sort of this creative gold mine, creative flow, creative state, which has been even more nurtured than I've experienced before as a result of the habits and routines that I've created after starting 75 Hard. Excuse me. But the question came up about my progress in my heart, my mind. That was the question that really was sitting on me, weighing on me at the moment. And I had the opportunity to discuss this with my coach, and we went over this example, and it was really going back to, what are you doing to create billable hours? What are you doing to work in the business of coaching that allows you to achieve those results that you most desire? And, I'll be completely transparent that it's easy to get distracted from, putting in an 8 or 10 or 12-hour day into the business of coaching, the business of creating and connecting, inviting and engaging. It's easy to look at the dream and look at where I most want to be and fail to plan and fail to wake up each day with that as my driving, motivating force. So that's a good starting point, is where are you when you wake up first thing in the morning? Are you driven to achieve success in your business today? Are you driven to do the things that it takes? Are you driven to succeed? And what does it look like? Have you taken the time to define it? If your goal is to create $10, $15, $20,000 a month from your coaching or your consulting, or even to add that, are you getting up each day driven to achieve that goal? And have you broken that goal down into what are the daily achievement steps and what do they look like? Those are your key performance indicators. It's really easy to sit back and look at the income and go, I'm not where I most want to be right now. What's not as easy is to focus only on what we call lead indicators. The lead indicators that lead to those results. Your financial status, your bank accounts, the income that you're earning as a result of the services you provide are not a lead indicator. They're a lag indicator. They are a result of the services and the effort and the work that you're putting into your business. So you have to do the work to break that down. And here's where the rest of the example comes in. If we're going to go with simplicity here, if you were to work each day to connect with 4 or 5 new people each week, then you're creating 15 to 20 new connections each month. Now, your goal is 4 connections. Your goal is not 4 connections who could potentially become clients. And here's the value of connecting with people in general. People you most want to associate with, people who you could enjoy spending time with and getting to know. And I bet if you break it down even further, there's lots of those people already around you that you've not yet taken the time to get to know at a deeper level, to be genuinely curious about who they are. Maybe their political views don't align with you. Maybe they are a bit overbearing, or they're an extrovert and you're an introvert. And there's something that's kept you from being genuinely curious about who they really are at their core. Taking the time to see what commonalities that you do have and getting to know them. So I'd imagine there's a few people right around you already that you could explore creating a stronger relationship with and connecting with at a deeper level. Now, there's potential that when you're connecting with people that they could potentially bring up a topic, a challenge that they're experiencing, and maybe it's something that you could probably help them with. So there's one potential outcome from just focusing on the connection, just focusing on being in the same space as people you most want to get to know, period. No intended outcome beyond getting to know them. Maybe it happens, but I'm willing to bet money that they probably know someone who could immediately benefit from what you have to offer, the services that you provide, the transformation that you can create. Maybe they know somebody right now who's got a challenge that you can help solve and would be willing to pay you to help them solve it. So just from creating, there's 2 distinct possibilities. Now, that's 4 to 5 new connections a week. That's roughly 20 new connections a month. If you're working on the connections in your business every day as if it was your job, as if it was a blue collar, show up to work, punch a time clock, and get paid to do the work you're supposed to be doing. And then what happens if you were to then invite 4 to 5 people to a coaching experience with you each week? So now you're working on creating new connections. Now you're working on inviting people to experience your coaching at a rate of 20 people per month. And then you create those experiences for them. You give them the experience of your coaching at 4 to 5 experiences a week, at 20 experiences a month. And then, even if, let's play this, even if you only make 3 proposals a week. Now, it might take you a little while. If you follow the process that I follow and the approach I'll go over in a minute that I follow for creating these proposals, or what the stages look like before getting to a proposal. Let's say you make 3 proposals a week. It might take you a month or 2 before you start making proposals. But when you start adding 3 proposals a week, that's 15, roughly, on average, proposals per month. You're tremendously increasing the chances of someone saying yes to your proposal. Even if it's priced out of most people's range, as an example, it may not be for everybody you talk to or everybody that you create an experience of your coaching with, but for at least 1 out of that 15, you can more than likely secure a yes. At the very least, you have a much better opportunity of securing a yes to your proposal at the end of a month by actually doing the work and getting to the proposal phase, the proposal stage of your coaching. If your pricing, let's just say your pricing is, well, $10,000 for 6 months or 12 months of working with you, however you structure your business, you have just landed $10,000 a month. For 1 month, that one client has just fulfilled your $10,000 goal. And I know you might say, well, if my goal's $20,000 a month, well, you could probably easily double those numbers when you're only talking about 3 or 4 connections, or 4 to 5 connections, 4 invitations, and 4 experiences. That's only, in my case, that's, 100 and, I don't do math on the fly. There you go. There's a bit about Dan. But that, you don't need to be in excess. You still have, if you're doing that at a number of 4 with 3 proposals each week, you can very easily add to that each week. Because I would imagine if I'm creating one experience, my coaching is 90-minute sessions. I coach in 90-minute sessions. I can easily do 4 a week. I could easily do 6 or 8 a week. I can at least do 5 a week. That's only 1 session per day. And I can at least do 2 sessions per day. So it would be very easy to create up to 10 coaching experiences in a week. I'd be completely comfortable with that, without hesitation, and still have plenty of room to play, and still have plenty of room to connect, and still have plenty of room to make a phone call and invite someone to experience coaching, and still plenty of room to make my proposals inside of a coaching session. So I told you, before I move on, so you can see how if you break down your targets, your goals, into manageable actions, i.e., if my goal is $20,000 a month, you can change your pricing structure, or you can do the work and make more invitations and more proposals. However you want to roll that. But if I continue to repeat that process every month for the next year, my chances tremendously increase that I'm going to create exactly what I have set out to create. And 2 clients at $10,000, this is just an example. This is not my figures specifically, but if 2 clients come in per month, if I'm making 10 proposals a month, that's $20,000 each month at $10,000 each to work for the year, or to work for your 6 months, or whatever your program looks like, or however you've structured your coaching and how many sessions a month you do. So I do 90-minute sessions, like I said, and I meet with clients once a month on average. Occasionally there'll be some exceptions, but that's the typical flow rate for me. So could I take on 15, 20, 30 new clients a month? Sure, I could. I don't want to. I don't have a desire to, and I don't have a need to. I would much rather be able to focus on a handful of clients and go deeper than anybody's ever been willing to go with them, because I can create that kind of space for myself by following a simple plan like this. So creating those spaces, if I continue to roll that process and I work to create and enroll 2 new clients each month, just with that alone, I can create, at that example, $20,000 per month. So what are your numbers? Think about that. What do you need to do to break that down into your action steps? If your goal is $5,000 a month from coaching, or $5,000 a week from coaching, all you have to do is break it down into the simplest terms to understand what the work is each day that you need to be doing. All right, I did say I was going to talk about how I structure and follow the Prosperous Coach approach to creating clients. Connecting. So I connect in lots of places. In fact, I have really focused on doubling down here. I may have mentioned this in my last episode, but I've gone so far as to have changed my website to say that I coach by invitation and referral only, but I would love to connect with you. And if you want to have a conversation, shoot me an email. And I gave my email address, dan@danw.us. And I'm going to filter these emails, of course. I'm looking for people who are serious about connecting, not just trying to sell me whatever it is that they're selling. But I'll talk to anybody that wants to have a conversation. If it's just to sell me on your program, then I'm less likely to really be enthusiastic and really want to go deeper with you, but I'll still talk. I love to connect with people. I love to be in community. I love to help build and strengthen communities. In fact, I host, I'm getting off topic, but I host a podcasting meetup once a month here in the area, kind of in the area. And I really just enjoy getting to know other people. So I connect a lot through in-person activities, in-person events. In fact, at the end of this week, Podfest rather, in Orlando is coming up, and I'm looking forward to that and the new connections that may come from that, the new friends that I'll make. And again, it's because I'm focused on the connection. I'm not focused on the potential results from that connection. I'm focused on doing the work and getting my repetitions, my numbers in for the work that I've promised myself to do. So connecting with people. I connect through social media as well, Facebook and Instagram. I've been playing a bit more on LinkedIn again lately, just because I've been interested in some of the articles, from people I'm connected with and some friends of mine. So I've been a little bit more active there. Overall, I'd say that my social media activity has really dropped significantly, however. So anyway, that's my connections. My invitations are those people who indicate to me that there's a challenge that they're experiencing that I might have some, maybe some advice or maybe some specific knowledge around or desire to help them achieve something. I've talked before that really at the end of the day, people want to achieve more and feel better. And I would love to be a part of that journey with someone who is invested in their growth that way. So my invitations will go to those people that I hear in conversation and connection with them that there's a challenge. And I'll open the door and say, this is something that I work on professionally, and I'd love to sit down and if you'd like to schedule some time, we can sit down and dedicate a full 90 minutes together to working through that. What do you think? That's my invitation process. And then the creating is really simple. That's creating the coaching experience with the person you're talking to or you're coaching. And that really is about being willing to challenge them, being willing to go deeper with them than anyone else is willing to do. Lots of people can talk about action plans and creating accountability, and they can talk about, all these other surface level potential solutions. I'm not knocking them, but there's lots of people in the coaching world, that can do that. More water. So your focus then is to create an experience that's going to challenge them deeper. It's going to take them to places that other coaches, honestly, might be just too afraid to go because of whatever. Take them there. Be willing to say the things. Be willing to call them out on who they're being. Be willing to call them out on how they're getting in their own way. In fact, I just had a coaching session last week, and it's funny, we laughed about it at the end, but we're talking about insights and action steps, and one of the insights was, wow, that really sucked, Dan. And we laughed because that's not the review I really want to post on my website until you hear the rest of the story. And the rest of the story is that I did exactly what he's asked me to do, is to call him out on his junk and to help him see what he can't see for himself, and to experience my coaching in a way that's going to challenge him at a deeper level. And that's exactly what he got. It wasn't easy, but it's what was needed. So that's creating a coaching experience for people, something that they're not likely to forget anytime soon. And then making your proposals. So I usually, in 99% of the cases, will not ever make a proposal in an initial coaching, an introductory coaching session. And my sessions, again, are a full 90-minute complimentary session in almost every instance as well. There are other examples that have come up where, you know, I've agreed to work with people on a different scale, different rate, and a slightly different way, where my first session with them was not a complimentary session. But those are more of a one-off. So typically my first session with someone will be complimentary. And at the end of those sessions, I invite them to share with me their insights from our time together. And this is reinforcing for them in their own mind and their own words the value that they have received from the call. So I don't have to reinforce or try to sell how valuable it was for them. They're telling me in their own words. And when they hear themselves say these, and then they're reflected back in my summaries, you know, that's all that is reinforcing value. So I never ever have to worry about selling value as an aspect of what they're going to receive by working with me. And then I ask them to share their action steps that they're going to take as a result, that they're committed to taking as a result over the next 3 or 4 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, whatever you decide. But I, again, usually will work on a monthly basis. And with clients who are not yet paying clients, I might close that gap a little further in, 2 to 3 week time frame, just to get into, not just to, but, trying to create an atmosphere that they're not likely to forget or get distracted in between those sessions. When you're a paying client, there's a different level of reinforcement, a different level of commitment to showing up. In fact, that's part of the agreement that we would make together, is the commitment to show up for every session, unless life, limb, or eyesight, or some of those things were to stand in your way. And there are obviously exceptions, but that's the general idea. And so then I look at those action steps and I simply say, based on these action steps, would you find value, and do you think it would be beneficial to get back together in another complimentary coaching session? Again, no obligations, no strings or expectations, and check in on where you're at in the next few weeks. 9 times out of 10, I think I'm probably at 100. Actually, I don't think I've had anyone. I had one person come back after the fact and say that they've gotten everything they needed, and they're excited about everything that they're moving towards. And we had a different conversation, but they did not necessarily want to continue with the second complimentary session, and that worked out wonderfully. But for the most part, everyone says that would be great. And they found so much value in those sessions that they were willing to experience that again, especially as a gift. And the enthusiasm and excitement that comes from that, of course, has me excited too. It's fun. It's what I love to do, and I love exploring with people. So that's amazing. And my second session is where I may make a proposal. The second session is where I may make a proposal. Towards the end of that session, we'll check in again, and we'll touch base. This is the value that you said you've experienced, and these are the action steps. These are the challenges. This is where you're going, the goals that you've shared with me. I wonder if it wouldn't make sense for us to pause right here for just a few minutes and talk about what it would look like to continue these sessions in a paid coaching relationship. Either way, yes or no, is fine by me. What do you think? I've given them the space to say no without obligation. There was no commitments, no expectations. And we either go to a proposal process where I explain the fees and I explain what it's going to look like, and we start to create, or what it was going to look like to create our agreement together, and we go from there. Or we don't, and we move into our wrap-up where we talk about insights and action steps. So that is my process, and I think I have done a good job of capturing most of what I wanted to share with you. We talked about processes and creating the business and the steps and action plans that are the work, the nitty-gritty of doing the business and being in the business of coaching. Excuse me again. The work that you're doing each week to achieve your clearly defined goals, and being able to articulate that, at least writing it down and articulating it for yourself, what those goals look like, so that you have the ability to create those measurements so that you can determine if you're making progressive steps towards your worthy ideal. I think that's a wrap for today. Gosh, I really hope that the sound comes through and I don't have to ditch this episode. I am, of course, going to go back and listen and critique myself along the way, but as long as I have communicated in a way that can be heard and understood without terrible interference from the traffic, the blinkers, etc., then I'm going to call this one a wrap. And I so look forward to getting life back to normal, getting my equipment set back up, and recording my next episode with you. Again, it's going to be a tight week with PodFest at the end of the week, and I don't have the schedule this week to be able to record ahead of time or batch record or any of those fun things. So I'm going to be doing it on Monday on the fly, and I'm hoping that there's no interferences like moving pianos or any of the other things that might come up. I think that is all. So before I go today, listen, thank you so much if you stuck around this long and you put up with all the background noise. I would love to invite you to review and or rate this podcast so that it helps others find it, especially if you found it valuable. Then I would also ask you, it would be wonderful if you would just share it with one other person who might find value in something that was said today or in any other episode. And then for those of you that have stuck around this long, I want to talk about something else really quickly. I'm a huge fan of masterminds. I have been in some very great high-ticket masterminds. I've been part of some lower-ticket masterminds. I've been part of free masterminds, and I love the concepts and ideas, especially those that align with the art and stylings of Napoleon Hill's work, where each and every other person in the group shows up with a level of commitment to each and every other person in the group above everything else in their potentially distracting schedule, their days and their weeks. I have seen a lot of talk recently. We're in the new year. I've seen new masterminds or people promoting existing masterminds, and they look a bunch of different ways. So I saw one today that was a short-term mastermind, and I'm just not a fan. I'm a fan of a full year-long commitment. I'm a fan of going beyond that for success for everyone involved. I'm talking about having a 12-month commitment where we meet once a week together in community with like-minded individuals who are working towards similar goals in their lives and in their business. Not necessarily the same business, but people who are along the same path and on the same journey together. There's nothing better than being in community where you can share ideas and challenges and get immediate feedback from a wealth of experience. The mastermind principles really do work. They are a tremendous multiplier for your own brain power, your own ability to think through what you're focused on, to think through and solve different challenges, come up with new creative ideas, and deliver something differently. So I have been sitting on, waiting on launching a mastermind this year. And I have decided that I'm going to go forward with launching a mastermind. I haven't even given it a name yet. So if you want to join my mastermind and help me name it, that'll be one of my first hot seat challenges. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit. So this mastermind is going to be a paid mastermind. Let me just put that out there up front. It's going to be a level of commitment of $500 a month. However, before you jump off and say that's not for you, let me continue. Just stick around for just another minute. I'm going to open this mastermind up to the first 6 people that want to join at no charge, with no obligations or expectations that you're going to continue beyond the first 3-month commitment at no charge into the paid mastermind to continue for the remainder of your year at $500 a month. So I'm launching this mastermind. The first 6 people who I am able to invite to join will receive access to this mastermind at no charge, with no obligations, expectations that they'll continue into the paid transition. Ideally, you'll find tremendous value from the community that we create together and from the business that you experience as a result, and all the other aspects that you bring to the table and that we together bring to the table. And you'll want to continue without question, but it's okay if you don't. Here's the stipulations. I'm going to create an application and I'm going to have you fill that out. And I am going to personally interview everyone who applies to participate. So it's not just anyone coming to the mastermind. I'm looking specifically some of the things that will be filters, just so you're clear and I'm being transparent ahead of time. I have to move my car from where I parked. But I'm looking for people who have a history of taking massive actions towards achieving their goals, regardless of the challenges they faced, regardless of the fear that they may have encountered. I'm looking for people who are willing to take action. You must be a lifelong learner, invested in your own growth with demonstrable examples. Whether it's coaching programs that you have undertaken, whether it's, coaching that you have undertaken, whether it's, this is not your first business go round, but something happened, you're back working for other people and looking to shift into full-time self-employment again. I'm looking for people who are in that stage, by the way. They're early full-time self-employment, or they're looking to shift into the full-time self-employment realm in the next 6 or 12 months. Action takers, lifelong learners, invested in personal and professional development with demonstrable actions that they have taken to do so. Those are the types of people I'm looking for. If you're interested in getting in on this to be one of the founding members, again, the first 3 months for the first 6 people is going to be absolutely no charge. All you need to do is send me an email, dan@danw.us, and put mastermind in the subject line, and I will be in touch with you directly. I think that's a wrap for today. Finally, thank you so much for sticking around, and I will see you next week.